Good morning out there. You are watching The Morning Show here on the Global Standout News channel, Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati.
And I'm Vambai Mutiniri Ekweyong.
And I'm Fire Senior. We've got a great show lined up for you on the morning after. It is well, Nigeria, and happy First Remembrance Day. We'll take a quick dash into the show this morning. Just keep it locked with us right here. The morning show begins right now.
The news about the federal government spending $750,000 monthly on a Republican-linked U.S. lobby firm to counter Christian genocide claims and curb separatist narratives among conservative and evangelical circles near President Donald Trump is generating reactions across the country. UK-based Africa Confidential reports that Abuja's lobbying followed Trump's November warning that the United States could intervene in Nigeria, guns ablazing, over alleged mass killings of Christians. The development sparked a high-stakes lobbying battle in Washington, with Nigeria's government clashing with pro-Biafra groups over U.S. military cooperation, sanctions, and arms sales to Africa's most populous nation. Joining us later on this show to discuss the lobbying scramble that has unfolded alongside intensified U.S.-Nigeria security contacts is Kunle Fagbemi, national security and defense scholar.
Also, we shall be engaging former Attorney General of the Federation, Michael Awondoaka. We will be discussing the security situation around the country as he is raising an alarm, calling for fresh U.S. strikes just a few days after Nigeria took delivery of military equipment to help it combat insecurity. Our last guest today is Dr. Seyi Oyeshola, an accomplished anesthetist and medical practitioner with over 25 years on the cutting edge of practicing medicine. We'll continue to look at how we can improve our healthcare in Nigeria, reduce anxiety often faced by people going for surgery, and possibly intensive care.
We'll also catch up on news-making headlines across the globe, but Femi Akisanya brings us updates on the foreign scene of World Brief. We'll also review today's newspaper headlines across the globe. Aaron Akerjala, who's taking us through sporting activities across the globe, all the way from Morocco, while Aniezi Osakwa will fill us in on what's trending around the world, highlighting impactful stories on the milestones and our good news report. It's going to be all that and a whole lot more today on The Morning Show.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's now time to take a look at news making headlines, all around the world. Of course, we begin right here at home. As the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, retired, has warned Sheikh Ahmed Gumi and others sympathetic to terrorists and bandits to stop their subversive endeavor, saying, and I quote, "A friend of a thief is a thief." Speaking yesterday during an official visit to Maiduguri, the minister said those engaged in acts of terrorism and banditry did not represent any form of regional, ethnic, or religious brotherhood. The warning came as the Nigerian army said it had taken a significant step towards strengthening its manpower development and national security framework with the construction of a new training depot at Amasiri, Eda, located within Afipo and Eda local government areas of Ebonyi State. Musa explained that his remarks were deliberate and purposeful, not merely symbolic. He stressed that Nigerians must refrain from supporting or justifying criminal activities in any form. He said the warning directly responded to narratives previously advanced by Sheikh Gumi, who had referred to bandits hiding in forests as, and I quote, "our brothers," and suggested that society could not function without them. Musa stated that Nigeria could not defeat terrorism and banditry, while dangerous narratives blurred the line between victims and perpetrators. Now on to some cheery news. As the federal government has recorded a major A breakthrough in the education sector with the signing of a renegotiated agreement with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. The agreement, which takes effect from January 1st, is expected to finally put an end to decades of industrial actions in public universities. After 16 years of tough negotiations dating back to 2009, both parties say the new deal is mutually beneficial. Arise News correspondent Juliet Obata reports.
After 16 years of prolonged negotiations, deadlocks, and repeated strikes, the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities have finally reached a consensus with the signing of the 2025 renegotiated agreement. The original 2009 federal government ASU agreement was due for review in 2012, but the process dragged on for years without resolution. A fresh renegotiation process was initiated in 2017 to review the 2009 agreement and address the growing challenges facing Nigeria's university system.
This agreement represents the culmination of sustained dialogue between the federal government of Nigeria, FGN, and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and reaffirms our collective commitment to the stability, quality, and global competitiveness of Nigeria's public university system. Since 2009, negotiations between FGN and ASU have constituted one of the most prolonged and consequential labor engagements in Nigeria's public sector.
This led to the setting up of several renegotiation committees, beginning with the Wale Babalaki Committee in 2017 under the administration of late President Muhammadu Buhari. In 2021, the Buhari government inaugurated another committee headed by Muzali Jibrin, followed in 2022 by the Nimi Briggs-led committee. Despite these efforts, negotiations between 2017 and 2022 failed to produce a new collective bargaining agreement. Fast forward to 2024, the President Bola Tinubu administration inaugurated a fresh renegotiation committee chaired by Yayali Ahmed in October. 14 months later, the process has culminated in the signing of the 2025 renegotiated FG-ASU agreement.
Usually, when at the end of struggles like this, it creates a paradox. It pushes for proper funding, but once funds arrive, there are limited institutional mechanisms for the union to enforce it. Our union also wants to specially appreciate the Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Maruf Alausa.
The new agreement addresses key issues, including conditions of service, university funding, autonomy, academic freedom, and other systemic reforms aimed at reversing decay, curbing brain drain, and repositioning Nigerian universities for national development.
Today's agreement is a clear and deliberate, with unprecedented demonstration of the commitment of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to quality, accessible, and uninterrupted academic calendars for all Nigerian students in a tertiary institution. The agreement provides for the review of the remuneration package of academic staff in federal tertiary institutions, as approved by the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission. And this agreement, I'm making promise to you today, this agreement will be effective from January 1st and was effective from January 1st, 2026.
As part of the agreement, the federal government has approved 9 new allowances for university lecturers, including a professorial cadre allowance of 1.74 million naira per annum. Juliet Obata, Arise News.
Of course, we pray that it will be sustained. Now on to other news. As Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, yesterday met with prospective bidders of the 50 oil and gas blocks currently on offer in the 2025 oil licensing round and other stakeholders in the Nigerian oil and gas industry for interaction on the modalities and expectations for the exercise. The pre-bid conference, which took place in Lagos, was attended by top government officials, members of the Oil Producers Trade Section Protection, OPTS, Independent Petroleum Producers Group, IPPG, emerging players, and other major stakeholders in the oil and gas industry. At the event, Chief Executive of NUPRC, Orishemeyiwa Eyeson, announced a reduction in entry costs for the licensing round, including a revision of the signature bonus and other pre-first oil fees as part of ongoing reforms to attract investment into Nigeria's upstream sector. According to her, lessons from previous licensing rounds have informed the 2025 licensing round with a renewed focus on attracting capable investors in the 50 assets on offer. Eyeson further announced a major policy shift aimed at reducing barriers to entry into the sector. On to the other news, the Trump administration is placing an indefinite pause on immigrant visa processing from 75 countries, further restricting the legal routes for entering the United States. The State Department on Wednesday said the administration wants to bring an end to the abuse of the system by those who would extract wealth from the American people by using welfare and public benefits. The order takes effect on 21 January, but a full list of the 75 countries has not yet been released. No fewer than 5,000 intending Nigerian immigrants to the United States may be delayed following the new visa restrictions. Data from the U.S. consulate in Lagos shows that 5,626 immigrant visas were issued in 2023, up from 4,219 in 2022, an increase of 1,407 visas within a year. Additionally, a total of 70,621 Nigerians were issued U.S. immigrant and non-immigrant visas in 2024. Now to Rivers State, where two more members of the Rivers State House of Assembly have joined the call on the Speaker, Martins Amaule, and other members to withdraw the impeachment process filed against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and the Deputy Governor, Professor Ngozi Odu. At a press briefing, Barile Nwako, representing Kana Constituency 1, and Emilia Amadi, representing Obioakpo Constituency 2, say despite being part of the notice of allegations of gross misconduct against Governor Fubara, they're calling for a political solution rather than impeachment. They say this is not a sign of weakness, but a demonstration of forgiving hearts as mothers. They joined two other lawmakers who previously withdrew from the impeachment threat, making a similar call on their colleagues. All right, well, there we have it. Quite a broad mix of big and important stories this morning. Rufai, your take.
So, number one, I'm happy that General Musa has come out to say a friend of a thief is a thief. And that statement is very heavy. Because, you see, as we celebrate Armed Forces Remembrance Day, and I pay tribute to all of our great, valiant troops that fight day and night and lose their life on the battlefront, and I call for improved welfare. It is very shocking that those that have perpetrated a narrative of the criminal terrorists in this country the most are people that served in the Nigerian army at one point or the other. People like Sheikh Gumi. So the question we should ask people like Sheikh Gumi is, where is your esprit de corps? It's so easy for you to call bandits, criminals, terrorists, our brothers in the bush, to advocate for their welfare. And when you hear some of his arguments, oh, they don't have water, they don't have this, they don't have education, most parts of Nigeria too do not have that. Most parts of Nigeria too do not have that. Come to some parts in the southwest here and see the deplorable state of the healthcare. See the deplorable state of hospitals. Most villages do not have pipe-borne running water. But they have not taken to arm and criminality and banditry. And I feel very sad this morning because this was somebody that served in the military. So please, General Musa, I don't just want you to say it as words. Match it up with action. Second layer is the state governors, especially our very dear friend that said the position of a governor is so hard for him, and I really feel a lot of pity for him. In fact, I think I'm ready. I can offer therapy for him if he wants, one-to-one counseling. I'll just tell him it is well. In fact, if he give me enough, I can be calling him every time and just be, telling him that it is well, don't worry. I know the position of being a governor is too hard for you. But it's so hard that you are negotiating with bandits at the expense of people in your state being killed. And you say you are doing peace deals. And bandits were roaming around every part of your state in a bid to have peace. You even had the unmitigated temerity to send your commissioners to tell us Nigerians that those that have problems with your peace deal, they should shut up while you were trying to negotiate a release for these bandits. General Musa, I think you should add the governor of Katsina State to also your list. Because as far as I'm concerned, those that negotiate with bandits and do peace deals, put them on the list. I think Kaduna too recently had one negotiation or a peace deal, if my memory serves me, or they've had in the past. Any state that is found wanting, put them in the list. Negotiate and placate and forgive bandits when they are killing our troops. You think our troops do not have a life to live? You think their family members are happy about how they are killed? Then the third layer, General Musa should look at, are the media spinners. Those that come and say, don't profile them. Don't profile them. It exacerbates the conflict. Don't profile them. Don't do profile. Don't mention anything. In a country where they are killing people. So people that are killing people should not be mentioned, should not be named. Oh, so that we will not fall in the path of political higri-bigri. Is that it? These were the same people that say, oh, there's a difference between terrorists and bandits. Bandits, oh, they do this just, no. People that terrorize people are terrorists. These bandits terrorize people, so they are terrorists. So those that come and spew all sorts of media narrative in defense of these people, General Musa, add them to the lists. This include commentators, analysts, those that come and talk and do propaganda. They think we do not know their narrative. They spew it and they put it with an air of neutrality and say, oh, I'm neutral in this. I've done my research. They parade themselves as experts. Stop it! The last point, please, if I might be allowed to speak on this FG ASU issue. Welcome development. But the thing with agreements is, like Wike was singing, agreement is agreement, yo, but I even want to sing the proper song that was made by Nkemowo, Ukwa. Agreement is agreement, yo. It don't reach it for settlement. You can't they tell me nonsense. Agreement is agreement, yo. I don't want to regale you with the historical antecedent of this agreement, but hope it will not be the time for settlement. And the federal government will change story. It's a win for Tinubu's administration. Yes, you can parrot it any way you want. But hope when it's time for settlement, when it gets to the 3-year threshold for the review, we are not going to hear all sorts. I yield the floor.
Okay, very quickly, let's start with agreement. Now, the principle that governs agreements between parties is trust and good faith and the belief, the conviction that those agreements will be implemented. In some other contexts, it is called pacta sunt servanda. In other words, agreements are sacrosanct. But here in Nigeria, we've seen many agreements being violated, the objectives not being met, and that has always been, the basis for a lot of friction in many situations. And government being the main culprit for not honoring agreements that it enters into, either domestically or even on the international scene. And this is the background to the conflict with ASU. In 2009, an agreement was reached. By 2012, ASU, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, was already complaining that agreement, in fact, time was ripe for it to even be renegotiated, and government had not implemented it. By 2017, ASU began to go on strike. All of that conflict. The university system was affected. In one instance, the universities were shut down for about 9 months. Who suffers in this regard? Students will suffer because their academic calendar will be disrupted. Many academics submitted themselves to the phenomenon of brain drain. Parents complained and all of that. But it was until 2024 that the Tinubu government now intervened and then decided that, okay, we'll set up a committee and then renegotiate these issues and look at the issues. First, the no work, no pay decision that was taken by the Buhari government, the Tinubu government, one of the first things he did was to pay the university teachers their arrears. But in recent times, the university teachers have been asking for further renegotiation. In fact, they even served notice of an intention to go on strike. But government has managed that, and they've gone to the renegotiation table. And this is the outcome that the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, told us yesterday. I think what the Tinubu administration has done is noteworthy, and it's also praiseworthy, because what the Tinubu government has done is just to try to find a solution to years of inaction in terms of the demands of the academic staff union of university teachers. The minister said, this is not cosmetic. He says it is practical, it is purposeful, and it is transformative. But he realized the basic point that needs to be made. He said there will be faithful implementation, underline faithful implementation, which means what has been renegotiated this time around, would be implemented. And that directives have been given that, all the details will be effective from January 1, 2026. And what are these agreements? Increase in emoluments for university teachers by about 40%. Provision of research allowance to encourage research. Allowances for professors and readers. Professors will now get about 1.7 million, average of 140,000 per month for research. The readers, associate professors, that is, will get about 140,000 per month additional. In addition to all of this, there will also be academic tools that will also be provided. Very good development. That's why I say it is praiseworthy. And what is the other fundamental principle, apart what I refer to as pacta sunt servanda? Is that any serious country that does not take care of its teachers is just voting for doom in the future, because education is so important. And by teachers, we do not mean university teachers alone. Whether they are primary school teachers, secondary school teachers, or university teachers, they need to be well taken care of, because it is when they are encouraged that they can provide the skills base that this country needs to be able to compete internationally. The other sector that is important is health. Yesterday, we were talking about health reform. A healthy nation is a wealthy nation. 3, agriculture, primary agriculture is also important, because you must feed your people. You must be able to feed your people. But there are other associated issues to what was announced yesterday for ASU. 1, the ASU president, Professor Piwuna, is saying that there are still structural issues that will have to be addressed going forward. Issues, for example, about autonomy, issues about interference of the authorities in university administration. And of course, if you look at the 1992 agreement, there are other issues, all dealing with the second principle I defined about making the education sector, stronger and more potent. Now, SANU, the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, they too have said their own agreements should also be looked into. NASU, the non-academic staff union of Nigerian universities, are also saying they are also unresolved issues. I think that the Tinubu administration should find, the determination to address all of these issues. I'll run through the other issues quickly. The bid round, the oil licensing bid round, and the meeting that was held by the Upstream Regulatory Commission with stakeholders in the oil and gas. They say they are looking for bidders, prospective bidders, stakeholders and all of that. 50 blocks are on the table. Now, this is just the basic work of the Upstream Regulatory Commission. And Mrs. Enyinsan offered a number of incentives that barriers will be lowered, charges will be reduced. An enabling contest will be provided for people who want to invest, foreign direct investment, foreign investment decisions and all of that. Signature bonus will also be. So if you want people to come and invest, of course, you give them options. Now, Mrs. Eyison is continuing where Gbenga Komolafe stopped. I think this licensing bid round was announced when NUPRC was headed by engineer Gbenga Komolafe, and she has stepped in and she's continuing in that regard. The only word of caution that I will give is that please don't let us hear that you want to go do road shows to go and advertise this, oil blocks. No, that was the pattern in the past. You don't need it in the age of technology and digital marketing. Because before you hear it now, they say they want to go to Qatar to do roadshow, to advertise oil blocks in Nigeria. You are going to sell oil blocks in Qatar. In fact, Nigerians are very funny. They can come tomorrow and say, we are going to Venezuela to advertise oil blocks in Nigeria. Or we are going to London. Or we are going to Saudi Arabia. Please, let nobody engage in that kind of ridiculous thing that we used to have with regard to road shows. What the NUPRC should do is to have a strong, well-managed website, put all the information there about the acreages that are on offer, about investment opportunities in that area. The people, the stakeholders in the oil and gas industry, they know what is where. They just want information. They want transparency. You can do that, by having a solid website. You can do that by advertising, even as far as China's Money Post or, Wall Street Journal and all of that. Yeah. Because we used to waste money with all kinds of ridiculous ratios. We don't need that this time around. We need to save money. Just get there into the digital space, and then, of course, you get people to come. Finally, General Musa, who said that the friend of a thief is a thief. It is called, the technical word for it is aiding and abetting. Section 7 of the Criminal Code of Nigeria is also, a similar provision is also in the Penal Code, which frowns on aiding and abetting, conspiracy, counseling of criminals, and omission. Omission means that if you know that, somebody has committed a crime and then you refuse to report, then of course you are just as guilty as the criminal of the same offense. And aiding and abetting, going about saying bandits and terrorists are our brothers, and we need to protect them. They are not my brothers. So I know the ones who are my brothers. You can't just come and say bandits are your brothers and you have to look out for them. Or saying, oh, kidnapping children is not a very serious crime. What the Minister of Defense has said is that, look, people should join the government in fighting crime, whether you call it banditry or terrorism, and should not be talking out of turns. However, I would like to advise the Minister of Defense and his team to walk the talk. It's not rhetoric we want. We want to see people who are guilty of this offense under Section 7 of the Criminal Code of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and similar provision in the Penal Code arrested and brought to book. Maybe that will send a strong signal to others that, freedom of speech, what is called freedom of speech, also has its limits. It does not include reckless talk that will endanger the lives of other people, and you say, oh, it's free speech. You are just expressing an opinion. No, certain opinions are sanctionable. And you listed, Rufai, you listed some people, some characters. You should include the media. You are talking about commentators. Yes. Is it not media establishments that give them the platform to come and talk out of turn? But however, the allegation will be freedom of speech, and that all, or the defense will be freedom of speech, and that all opinions should play. But the important thing is to always have the other side and to allow the other views, due respect.
Absolutely. But they also say your freedom ends where my nose begins. So, there's nothing that is ultimate. There are limits and restrictions within everything. Let me continue on the topic of the Minister of Defense and these statements that he has made. I picked out some things that really stood out to me. The first was that specific reference to our brothers, which we have heard, of course, time and time again from various players in the space. Now, timing wise, I think it was important for him to make this statement. Why do I say that? Because we've just heard news over the past few days that the United States has labeled the Muslim Brotherhood groups in Egypt, Lebanon, and Jordan as terrorist organizations. Now, not all organizations, especially here in Nigeria, where we find that there are several different types of organizations that will refer to themselves as, brotherhood and so forth. However, it's now important for us to make that distinction, especially from the state level, that we are separating certain groups that are going about their business from being labeled as our brothers within a brotherhood or a religious organization that may mimic some of the organizations that are now falling under spotlight globally and are now being designated as terror organizations, especially given the fact that we're trying to continue a collaborative relationship with the United States. We are not trying to further escalate, some of the tensions that may exist in that relationship. Furthermore, he said there comes a point where we have to know where to draw the line between compassion and complicity. And I thought this was very important because, unfortunately, generally, as a national system, not just in areas where we're seeing terrorism and banditry, compassion seems to be what is pushed above complicity. Compassion seems to be the order of the day, and it has replaced justice in many instances. And that's why we are talking about negotiating with bandits. That's why we're talking about, sympathy extended towards these players, because they argue that, these players are also victims of circumstance. My father always used to say something very profound. He says, one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. However, in the absence of justice, the narrative becomes blurred. And where can we take this back to? Let's take it back, as today is January 15th, let's take it back to no victor, no vanquished, which was a war termination doctrine. It was a doctrine that was created to say, the war has ended. Let us create a spirit of unity to move the nation forward. But unfortunately, it has now been implemented as a system of governance. What do I mean by this? I mean that any systematic situation that causes, especially that has violence at the center of it, has now created a culture where we say that, no, number one, we silence them. Number one, there's no justice. And number two, the perpetrators of those crimes are somehow incorporated into the system and placated by various contracts, promotions, positions, and so forth. This trend can be looked at not just in the northern part or middle belt where we're currently seeing an upsurge in insurgency, even if you look at the Niger Delta, where we say, okay, fine, that amnesty was able to placate the militant activity that was happening at the time. But what happened? We brought the militant actors into the elite circle, but the systemic challenges that caused these issues still exist. You look at the issues around Ogoniland at the moment. Have we been able to clean up the actual foundational cause of that advocacy that happened at that time? Now we look at a different part of the country where they are putting forward an argument and they're saying that, well, we have ungoverned spaces. We have groups of people who needed to protect themselves because the state failed to protect them. So why are they being criminalized? Again, you see how this concept or doctrine of no victor, no vanquished, and being used not as a war doctrine, but now being abused as a system of governance and a system of, instead of a system of conflict management, when we are supposed to be moving to conflict transformation. And so as long as we continue in this pampering of people who have gone against the Constitution, who have broken the law, then this culture will go on. And unfortunately, what it does is it protects elites, it expands the elites, but it means that citizens will never have redress. Citizens will never have justice in a system where we say that anybody who has access to violence will be able to be incorporated into the elites and will be forgiven. Their sins will be forgiven and they will move on. I'll quickly touch on FG, the federal government, and ASU. After 16 years, I mean, I think we're all still holding our breath here. When we see the implementation and the rollout, we applaud the fact that the impasse has been ended. However, ASU made one very, very valuable point, which is that as much as issues around welfare and salaries may have been resolved, there's one niggling issue that they still have concerns about, and that's university autonomy. Now, we know that the culture of university autonomy has continued to be eroded, even though constitutionally it is enshrined. These universities are supposed to enjoy autonomy. We know that the more we've seen academic officials or professors and those in the academic space get involved in politics, in the electoral process, in the election process, we've continued to see the erosion of autonomy. We now see that it's now part of a political game. Now, we can't have this intersection between education and politics or governance and elections. It is not good for education. It is not good for the development of our young people, because it means that merit is out of the window. It means that the context of which the sanctity of academia is not being respected because politics is dominating the day. And so that needs to be addressed. In saying all of this, however, I do commemorate today as being our Armed Forces Remembrance Day. And I do hope that throughout the day, as we look at the various activities that will be happening around the nation, we can all join in the spirit of celebrating our armed forces, those deceased, those in action, and continue to lift their morale, boost their morale, and urge them to keep fighting the good fight. We're behind you. It's now time for a short break on the morning show. When we return, we'll have Adefemi Akinsonya join us for the World Brief and to review top stories in today's newspapers. Please stay with us.
Solar energy has improved the lives of Nigerians in the sense that we can have a cleaner environment and thereby preserving the earth for future generations. Our mission is to ensure we develop and deliver locally acceptable, contemporary, and innovative solutions in partnership with global organizations to ensure that we become the first and the trusted choice for Nigerians. So the option of having a solar solution at just 30% equity already ensures that you have money back in your pocket, because then you can then pay on a monthly basis over a period of time, which if you compare with the fact that you're also paying grid, is actually more affordable over a period of time. Then you can have your access to power under your control at every point in time for up to 10 years.
Mama.
My smally.
Gen Z mama we carry better swag.
You dey wine. It be like say plenty credit don't overload for that your size.
Credit now water. You say no now.
Glow Talk Master. My little lioness.
When they retire senior lions.
I dey make one better dress where you go wear for these holidays.
When I land them, I go finish you with plenty kisses.
Who you dey kiss, they finish on my credit there? Who be this? Mr. Man.
Ah, Mama.
Why they disturb us now?
You almost give me heart attack.
Feel like say you never hear about Glow Talk Master.
We get free data. Let's video call her.
Ah.
Hi, Grandma.
Free on Glow Talk Master. Talk for 6 minutes and get 6 minutes free. Plus 15 megabytes of data free. Simply dial *606#. 2,000 naira for new customers. 1,000 naira for voice. 1,000 naira for data.
My baba they always say, for market, every day gets your own wahala. Sometimes people go want scam you. But Baba say, no be by gra, you must cool down, dey sharp. Because with OPay payment, your money go enter sharp, no story. But inside market, anything fit happen. One day, we no see phone again. My Baba remember OPay USSD lock, that's star 955 star 131 hash. Baba press am, lock account. From market woman to driver, from small boy to big man. Now OPay, they protect people like us. My papa fit sell, press phone, collect POS, and still they teach me price. And when they don't tire, go just tap OPay night guard. We no fear for this our hustle life. Now OPay be the people payment shield.
Feel free to imagine a world with no boundaries. Just you and your dreams, running wild and free. Oh no, life can be easy. Smooth connection where they collect. Smooth connection where they correct.
Every business creates data. Sales, payments, movements. Sparkle turns activity into information you can understand. And insights you can act on. Sparkle doesn't just show you what happened, it helps you decide what to do next.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now for World Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi.
Morning, Dr. Rubin. Good morning, Vimpai. Good morning, Foy. How's everybody this morning?
Good.
Wonderful. Good morning to viewers. Let me tell you what is happening around the world. Now, the United States has indefinitely suspended immigrant visa processing for people from 75 countries, including Nigeria, Egypt, and Somalia. As I said, there are 75 countries. Let's first take a look at all 26 of the African ones that have been named. So you've got the likes of Algeria, Cameroon, Cape Verde, Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt, Eritrea, Ethiopia, the Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Liberia, Libya, Morocco, Nigeria, of course, the Republic of the Congo, different from the DRC, the Rwanda, also Senegal, Sierra Leone, Somalia, South Sudan, Sudan, Tanzania, Togo, and Tunisia. These are the countries in Africa affected by this halt, this freezing of visa processing. But then there's also a range of countries around the world. So let's take a look at the rest of the regions and the countries on the list. So if we take this look now, so if we start with Asia, you've got the likes of Afghanistan, Armenia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar. There's also Cambodia, Georgia, Kyrgyzstan, Laos, Mongolia, and Nepal. Europe isn't exempt. So you've got the likes of Albania, Belarus, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Kosovo, Moldova, North Macedonia, and Russia. And then you've got the Latin America. So the likes of Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Belize, Uruguay, Barbados, the Dominica, Grenada, Guatemala, Haiti, and Jamaica. In terms of Oceania, there is Fiji too. And then there's a range of countries in the Middle East, the likes of Lebanon, and so on, so on. So the question now is why? Why has the United States done this? Well, according to the US State Department, they say that people from these countries behind me, and of course Africa, essentially they arrive in the United States and receive welfare and government benefits at alarming rates. They say that the changes are coming into effect on the 21st of January, which is next Tuesday. And they mark one of the Trump administration's most expansive efforts yet to restrict legal pathways into the United States. Now, we'll talk a bit more about the United States on our next story, but moving over to Iran, we are hearing now that authorities in Iran say that they have stopped the planned execution of protesters following the news that the United States and the United Kingdom have reduced the number of their own military personnel at the Al Udeid air base, pictures of which you can see behind me in Qatar. This is a sign of, again, re-escalating tensions between these countries, and then again, how they're looking at Iran. Now, the withdrawal is seen as a precautionary measure. Now, US President Donald Trump has weighed in on this, and he's weighing whether or not to take action against Iran over its crackdown on anti-government protests. Now, in order to set the scene for us, the Qatari government did release a statement. And in that statement, they talk about how essentially they are confirming the news that people in other publications have been talking about, essentially that, yes, these things have been happening. The withdrawal of personnel from UK and US teams on their bases are being done. It's measures being undertaken in response to the current regional tension. So that kind of signaled that perhaps these troops were going to be used elsewhere, or definitely used to attack Iran. Now, the Qatari government has stated that the measures being taken by the US government are in response, as I said, to current regional tensions. You'll also remember Iran saying that it would retaliate to other targets should the United States strike them. Meanwhile, the British embassy in Tehran has also been temporarily closed, with operations moving online. The US embassy in Doha has advised personnel to exercise increased caution and to limit non-essential travel to the Al Udeid airbase. In the same development, Iran closed its airspace for 5 hours overnight into the very early hours of this morning. Most flights were affected, citing security concerns, and several airlines have announced that they have rerouted flights around the country. Now, looking at the protest itself, we do know that all of these moves, geopolitical moves, whether or not they've been threats for military intervention, this all links back to the ongoing protests happening in Iran, which has seen over 2,400 anti-government demonstrators killed. That is according to rights groups. Meanwhile, the international community is on high alert. It remains on high alert, with countries like Italy and Poland also advising their citizens to leave Iran. Germany, for example, has issued a notice to air operators recommending that they avoid flights flying over Tehran and wider Iran too. Well, moving on, it is election day. Today is the 15th of January, so it's election day in Uganda, and that is as incumbent 81-year-old President Yoweri Museveni seeks a seventh term in office. Now, his main challenger, a gentleman by the name of Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, popularly known as Bobby Wine, he is hoping to capitalize on widespread frustration with the current government's handling of the economy as well as corruption. So we'll see how that goes. But for many Ugandans, the election is not just about politics, it's about survival. So you've got rising living costs, poor infrastructure, and limited job opportunities. All of these being the dominant concerns as voters, as you can see them there, queue for the first opportunities to cast their ballot. Now, the Gen Z demographic is particularly vocal, demanding transparency, jobs, and an end to corruption. However, the government's response has been to deploy a heavy security presence, with reports of arrests, beatings, and disruptions targeting opposition supporters. Now, incumbent Yoweri Museveni has defended the use of things like tear gas to disperse protesters, saying that it is non-lethal and it's preferable to live bullets. However, As you can imagine, human rights organizations have recorded a pattern of abuse, including arrests, beatings, and disruptions targeting Bobi Wine's National Unity Party. The election holds today. The world will be watching, and the outcome is likely to shape Uganda's political landscape for years to come, with citizens, observers, and the international community hoping for a peaceful and credible process. That's all we can hope for when we're looking at democracy on the African continent. Let's take a look at our newspaper headlines from across the world. As ever, we begin with the front page of This Day. And This Day does lead with Defense Minister Christopher Musa saying that, well, really, he's warning the likes of Sheikh Gumi and others who are sympathetic to bandits and terrorists that a friend of a thief is a thief. He's stressing that terrorism and banditry do not represent any ethnic, regional, or religious brotherhood. And that's as the army expands training facilities across Nigeria. That's also as Poland describes Nigeria as a stabilizing force in West Africa. Let's take a look at the Daily Trust. Okay, lovely. So the Daily Trust does report that the federal government has paused issuance of guidelines for the implementation of these new tax laws. They've been citing uncertainty over the final versions. Now, Taiwo Oyedele, who is the chairman of the Presidential Tax Reform Committee, he did warn that misinformation around the laws previously caused the Nigerian stock market to lose 4.6 trillion naira in a single day. So the stakes are very high there. Meanwhile, shall we take a look at the Punch? The Punch does report that the federal government has ordered all banks and fintechs, financial technology firms, to collect and remit a 7.5% VAT on electronic banking service fees. That includes money transfers on your mobile phone, USSD, which is unstructured supplementary service data charges, and card issuance. This is going to be effective from the 19th of January 2026, and it's as part of efforts to standardize tax collection and boost revenue in Nigeria's digital financial sector. Let's take a look at the New Telegraph. Well, the New Telegraph does report, as we have seen, that the importers of premium motor spirit, PMS, in Nigeria are facing losses of 1.77 trillion naira. That is over 2.39 billion litres of imported fuel remain stranded at jetties. This is while independent marketers are increasingly preferring locally refined products from the Dangote refinery, for example, which has ramped up production and direct deliveries to meet national demand in the interim. Now, the Daily Independent, shall we take a look at that? Now, as we've mentioned on the Daily Independent, we already took this story on the World Brief, but again, as other Nigerian papers have taken, the Daily Independent does report that the United States has paused the processing of immigrant visas for Nigeria and 74 other countries beginning in January the 21st. This is pending a review of its screening and vetting procedures. Now, a State Department spokesperson said that consular officers had been instructed to refuse visas under existing laws. During the review, a move affecting thousands of prospective immigrants across Africa, Asia, Europe, Americas, and Oceania. This is as US authorities cite national security financial concerns. Today, as I said, it is the election day in Uganda. So we've got a Ugandan newspaper in today's newspaper review, and the Daily Monitor has dedicated its front page to the election. Now, it does report that over 21 million Ugandans are heading to the polls today to elect the country's president and parliament in a landmark vote that will shape the nation's political direction for the next 5 years. And then moving on to our UK papers, you've got the UK Guardian, which does lead with geopolitics. We're seeing that President Donald Trump of the United States, remains set on conquering Greenland, and high-level meetings on Wednesday did fail to resolve a fundamental disagreement between Denmark and the United States. And finally, let's wrap things up with the Metro, which is also a UK paper. And the Metro reports that a space entrepreneur is planning to launch the first hotel on the moon in 2032. Now, a 3-night stay will set you back £7.5 million. I know all of you can afford it. So if you guys do go, you can let me know what the hotel is like.
I can't afford it.
You can.
Freddie, please clarify.
Yes.
Did I hear something properly? They said 7.5% on all transactions as VAT. So if somebody transfers
on electronic banking.
Yes. So if somebody transfers 1 million, 75,000 will go to VAT.
Yes. That's what it means.
So that's what it means with electronic banking. So all the wins we have gotten from electronic transaction will be going to VAT now. The way to do digital inclusion is the VAT comes out on it. in this same country where, and please, I think we should, if we get it, let's do an expose on the budgets. This current budget, you will laugh your heads out. Where almost every commission now is doing streetlight project, you are having a lot of funny projects being inserted into the budgets. You are going to be making this kind of collections. What's going to be the accountability threshold? It's not just going to make people go back to collecting cash. I just wanted to read to you instances of the kind of things that have been inserted into the budget. A great example, Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria, ACON, is building a 735 million bridge in Ebonyi. Then they will renovate classrooms in Ebonyi for 350 million. They're also buying 35 million worth of fertilizer. Those are the kind of things that have been inserted in the budget as we speak. All right. And many other such things. All sorts of frivolous, funny projects. Okay, take for instance, 2023 budget, Border Community Development Agency is filled with unrelated projects. A lot of them, street lights, and all of that. So there are too many things, too numerous to mention. For instance, Ajakuta Steel, total expenditure of 6 billion, personnel cost 6.6 billion, personnel cost 6 billion. All right. Those are the kind of things in the budget. So we'll make all these collections, and it will be put in a budget where some NDAs will cook up some interesting projects and put in the budgets. We must be able to have some level of accountability in this country. I mean, if they are going to collect 7.5% on transactions as VAT.
On service fees.
On service fees.
Yes.
Oh, so service fee.
The 10 naira, for example.
Oh, Dr. Abati now. You wanted to make me have BP just now. You said, no, it's on service fee. I'm sorry, right. Please. Because I was like,
me too. That's
my head was going, I was spinning already.
Itself.
Yeah? Not the transaction, on the service fee. Very good.
So how much does it amount to?
Money? It's a small money. I mean, that's why, because that's why I was saying, that's why I was saying, please educate me.
No.
But even at that,
20 naira, it's still.
But even at that,
yes, it is.
With this kind of budget we are seeing, we need accountability on how our money is being spent or where the money is going. So I'm happy about the clarity. As regards Museveni, Uganda, I went to check his middle name, his childhood name. And the meaning of meat means somebody we know the year word. And that has always been his MO all this while. The same kind of election. I'm not even... all the things he's going to do in this election, he did it in the last election. Is he shutting the internet? Is it beating... Mine is, what would be the future of Uganda after this era? Because it can't live forever. Even if God gives him 20 more years, he will go at some point. But I hope the country will not disintegrate into chaos after he's gone.
Absolutely. Well, the answer, Rufai, is that he is planning for his son, Kaine Rugabe, to succeed him. But I think the bigger challenge with the issue in Uganda is the lack of a legitimate opposition, because Bobi Wine himself, as much as he's the leading opposition member, is not somebody who commands that Pan-African credibility that a lot of people are looking for. There are concerns about who is backing him, who funds him, and, whether he really is somebody who genuinely understands what needs to be done. So it's a question of, it's a protest vote, really. If those who vote against Museveni are saying we don't want Museveni anymore, can I really say it's in favor of Robert Chagulanyi, Bobi Wine? That's a question mark, and it speaks to the caliber of opposition that we have across the African continent. That opposition in many instances comes in as a protest vote, not necessarily because they have anything better or anything fundamental to offer. Nevertheless, that's democracy. The majority is supposed to have their way, while the minority will have their way, the minority will have their say. Very quickly on Iran, the developments happening there are very concerning, but we can't take away the domino effect, the potential domino effect that might come out of this. What have we seen here on the African continent? South Africa was hosting naval drills for BRICS plus countries, which included Iran, China, and Russia. All of these naval ships were flying the flags. They had to ask Iran to please step aside from the drills, which they proceeded to do. South Africa's main reason for asking for that is because just yesterday, 24 to 48 hours ago, the U.S. House of Representatives was concluding on the AGOA agreement, whether or not to continue with the AGOA agreement. And we know that the South African economy relies heavily on that AGOA trade agreement. Well, it seemed that moment worked for them because AGOA has passed, well, just in the House of Reps. We now wait to see what will happen in the Senate. But in essence, it looks like it will be renewed. So America is playing this card where they know that Iran is interconnected to so many other places in the world. Let's look at their role as an energy provider to countries like China. Is China going to be able to just look away while Iran is being striked is another question. Some people are saying, well, other allies, Venezuela was a big ally of China and China couldn't do anything about it. Is China going to stay quiet with their $1.2 trillion trade surplus that they have now? Will they keep quiet if and when Iran is attacked? And I conclude by saying, ultimately, it's unfortunate what is happening because this protest started because of economic pressures, inflation, exchange rate. But guess what? American sanctions are the ones that caused those economic pressures to begin with. So you cause a problem and then you're the one who wants to come and it's unfortunate. But this is the world we live in now.
Okay, let me start with Nigeria, domestic issues, and as follows. Namely, the significance of January 15. For some time now, we've been wearing these poppycocks as a mark of identification with the fallen heroes. Today is Armed Forces Remembrance Day. But the bigger issue is around the date, January 15. Two major incidents occurred historically, January 15 in contemporary Nigerian history. It was on January 15, 1966, that we had the first incursion of the military into political governance in Nigeria, when a group of soldiers led by Cardinal Nzeogo, and there is a very rich literature on this, decided to stage a coup, a military intervention. Now, on that day, the story you brought, front page of Daily Trust, talking about 60 years after the Sardauna died. Now, it was not just the Sardauna that died. Quite a number of prominent politicians also died. Balewa, Akintola, who was premier of the Western region, Chief Remilekun Fani Kayode, QC, CON, SAN. There were others.
Did he die on that day?
Well, he was killed in the context of that first coup. Sir Kashim Ibrahim was also one of the victims. Chief Festus Okotiebo from the then Midwest was one of the persons that died in that particular incident. But apart from the political leaders, there were also soldiers who died. Brigadier General Ademulegun.
Rebi Farikara died in 1995. He wasn't killed in the court. I think he was one of the.
Okay, he was attacked.
Yeah,
his own was attacked.
Yeah,
but Akintola died.
Yeah,
he was one of the victims, more or less. Because his home was a target. Then you had soldiers that died. Colonel Unegbe, Mamalari, Zakaria, all of those people who died as a result of that incident. In fact, Brigadier Samuel Ademulegun even lost his wife. And then, of course, that changed the tone, the political calculation in Nigeria. Regions that felt, their key persons died and all of that. And then you had the counter coup of July 28, 1966. And Nigeria has never been the same since then. Again, January 15 that we talk about, on January 15, 1970, that was when the Civil War, the fratricidal Civil War in Nigeria ended. And at the end of that war, General Gowon, who was in the Sadwa at the time, then said, no victor, no vanquished. But there are persons who have written that, in fact, in a true sense, the Civil War that happened in Nigeria did not end, and that the Civil War is still continuing. And those who are asking for secession, in the Southeast, those who are talking about marginalization, they are saying that this country is not yet a nation and that we're not united. So today, we remind us not just of the heroes that fell, but also of the key issues at the heart of the national question, whether it's ethnicity or nation building or religion. So all of these converge on a day like this, and I hope that it will be a day of a sober reflection for all Nigerians and how to turn our country into a nation that is built on a foundation of unity and togetherness and promise of tomorrow. As for Uganda, which you also mentioned, well, the outcome is predictable. It's a fight between continuity and change. But the young people of Uganda, are they going to vote today? Uganda has the youngest population, in Africa, average age 17. Where would the people, how would they vote? But as for the outcome, you can be sure. All this repression, internet blackout, that's just Museveni. But I agree with the point we have always made on this table. What happens after Musevenism? Will it be after Museveni chaos, or will the country survive? As for Iran, the US says is taking temporary measures because the Iran foreign minister said if the US should attack Iran, all occupied territories, meaning Israel, and all allied forces military bases would be attacked. But the news in it is that President Trump is now saying he has that the attack on the civilians has stopped a bit, and that because of that, he's just trying to wait and see. He's watching. So the escalation may not happen. It may well happen. But Iran, being a major global oil producer, all of that will have implications for global peace. And whether you are talking Venezuela or Iran or any other subject, everything leads residually to the competition between the United States and China. Thank you very much indeed, Adefemi. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be talking to Kunle Fagbemi, National Security and Defense Scholar. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello everyone. I'm here with the woman that makes all the things happen in Fidelity Bank, the MD of Fidelity Bank.
FNITCC was conceptualized in 2022, and the whole idea was to create a platform where our exporters, lead with the global community, are able to showcase their products. What we do in the banking industry is to always try to meet the needs of our customers, and we could see that the exporters were struggling with. They didn't have a global stage on which to showcase their goods. We did so much initially in terms of capacity building. After that, the products were made, were put in proper quality, packaging and all of that. So the next step naturally is to take it to the global stage, especially if you focus on making world-class products.
Like they say, build it and they will come.
Yes, they will, don't worry about it. Build it and they will come.
All right, ma'am.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word. When President Bola Ahmed Tinubu campaigned in 2023, he promised to build a better Nigeria. Today, savings from fuel subsidy removal has enabled state governments to pay salaries, develop infrastructure, and implement social welfare projects. In education, 864,798 students across 263 tertiary institutions have benefited from the Nigerian Education Loan Fund. In health, 1,480 primary healthcare centers have been revitalized, with 5,500 being upgraded across the country. In empowerment, the 75 billion naira Presidential Intervention Fund for MSMEs, SMEDAN's 11 billion naira support for SMEs, and NDDC's 30 billion naira Youth Entrepreneurship Fund is creating jobs and empowering Nigerians. A lot is being done to fulfill the promises of President Tinubu to Nigerians. He will do more. A message from the All Progressives Congress, APC.
Good morning. Today's weather will be sunny with a high of 31 degrees.
Alexa,
Music, please.
Playing workout music.
Striving for mastery? You need speed, precision, and clarity of purpose. They all add up. Talent is not enough. You've got to prove that you're able to take advantage of unlimited opportunities when they come. And to do that, you need plenty of data. Scratch that. You need unlimited data. And there's no better provider of unlimited data
Access granted
than your all-powerful Glow router.
Whether home or office, enjoy unlimited data on a Glow router. Dial *312#.
You know, I've got unlimited eyes.
Glow Unlimited.
I'm still watching.
In most parts of the world, girl child are not recognized in the family. I hope all this problem holding down a girl child did not hold me down.
The idea behind the project is to identify schools that we think the parents are not economically empowered to sponsor their children to schools.
In demonstration of our commitment to reducing that number, we've come here today to provide some of the essentials that we believe would help the children in school. We worked with different schools in 5 states across the country, and we reached out to 15,000 children.
I want to be a food scientist, and Polaris Bank is helping me realize this dream. I'm perfectly excited.
Every winter, the world's most influential people come to Davos to negotiate the future face to face. Money, energy, war, AI, trade, innovation, and all else. Africa will be there as well as Nigeria. The decisions made here will shape what happens to everyone else. As always, Arise has a front row seat, not to admire power, but to interrogate and shape the future. Join me, Rhoda Odiri, Rolake Akinkube Filani, and Anise Osakwe. Trust us to be your guide to the 2026 World Economic Forum. Watching closer, listening harder, and translating the moment into what it means for your life. Because the decisions made here don't stay here. They travel into markets, into borders, into prices, into policies. Stay with Arise News in Davos 2026. We're live, relentless, uncompromising. If it shifts the world, you'll see it first. On the world's standout global news channel, Arise News.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Nigeria's battle to shape Washington's view of its internal security crisis has spilled into a lobbying war, with the federal government dramatically outspending Biafran secessionist groups as both sides seek President Donald Trump's ear over claims of a Christian genocide, according to UK publication African Confidential. Alarmed by Trump's threat last November to go into Nigeria guns a-blazing, President Bola Tinubu's administration and its allies have moved swiftly to counter separatist narratives in the U.S. capital, signing a $750,000 a month deal for 6 months, renewable contract with the Republican-linked DCI group to press Abuja's case on visa policy, military cooperation, trade and tariffs, and to emphasize government's efforts to protect Christians and Muslims and combat jihadist violence. Joining us now on this show to discuss the lobbying scramble that has unfolded alongside U.S.-Nigeria security contacts is Kunle Fagbemi, National Security and Defense Scholar. Good morning, Dr. Fagbemi, and thank you very much for joining us on the morning show.
A very good morning to you, Dr. Ruben Abati.
Well, Dr. Fagbemi, you must have been following the controversy. I was saying yesterday that it's a legitimate thing for a government to lobby. It's a tested, established tradition in the United States, just so that your own side of the story can be heard, and not just one side being heard. So you lobby, you put your story out there through various means, through contacts, agents. But some Nigerians are saying that this looks extravagant, that Nigeria is going to spend, I think in total about, is it $9 million, 4.5 plus 4.5, about that, $9 million. But what do you think? Do you think the Nigerian government should just fold its arms while, it's been discredited in major centers, major capitals of the world?
Thank you very much, Dr. Abati. Ordinarily, lobbying is not a bad idea in terms of engaging stakeholders. However, when you put it in perspective, we are dealing with a situation that when you do lobby, you want to provide additional data which may help to corroborate, validate, verify, or otherwise determine. In this case, where you're talking about the US government relating with the Nigerian state, the first question you need to ask is, how do you understand the access and capacity of the United States to gather information and data to process, to reinforce their own foreign policy regarding your country? If there was no poverty of intellectualism and rigors of analytic capacity on this part of the Nigerian state, it would have been open to us that the United States government already has multiple sources of gathering data concerning the Nigerian state. There is the United States government, federal government of Nigeria relations at the diplomatic, the military, and through a series of overseas development assistance programs, which allows them to access official data and to interact with state actors within the Nigerian space, which automatically means that in terms of their joint security working group, in terms of all the dynamics of training, intelligence gathering, and sharing, they have this. But unfortunately, what we are now saying to ourselves, and we have just done, is that we are saying that you want to provide somebody who already has more information and data about Nigeria than you yourself, in some cases, mindful of the fact that the US government, through multilateral platforms, do give support to NGOs, even to government. A number of initiatives in the Office of the National Security Advisor that has been identified as the sponsor of this lobby procurement. They have US AID, US government initiatives supporting them, and they already get data. It therefore means that it is wrong, and that was why initially some of us were pleading with Messrs. Daniel Buhala and the others to kindly tone down their rhetoric of the noise that we're making, because the folks that were talking from the United States aren't enough data. Mind you, you equally have the diaspora component resident in the United States, and you have the information sharing between US government and EU countries that fall into NATO, and you have the media access. And one of the few things that we must never forget is that a number of data that are used by international and foreign missions all over the world are open source, and they are media-based. And you have the conventional media, the traditional media like Arise, that they can easily monitor and collate data from. And then you have the social media platforms. And when you're talking about the social media platforms, you'll be talking in terms of Facebook, WhatsApp, you'll be talking in terms of Snapchat, Instagram, and the like. It should interest us to note that X, that formerly was Twitter, we have 7.5 million Nigerians that are subscribed to X, and we have 48.7 million Nigerians on Facebook. On Instagram, we already have 9.9 to 12.6 million. TikTok, we have 37.4 million. On WhatsApp, we have 51 million penetration in terms of subscription, and we have Snapchat, YouTube, and all others. Now, if the US government that we know and the way they take serious information, media monitoring, gathering, and data analysis, we are already aware that they will have more than enough information. So when you are now pushing a lobby project, it means that you must be mindful that whatsoever you are going to be presenting to them will not really affect their decision making. The foreign policy framework of the United States is already cast in such a way that such lobby will not really make any significant input.
Well, it's interesting you make that point because I've, several people have been drawing parallels between this instance and what we saw happening in South Africa, for example, with a group called AfriForum that was accused of doing a very similar thing that this particular Biafra agitation group is said to have done. However, in the South African case, the data available negated all of these accusations or allegations, if I may call them that. In a Nigerian instance, there are those who are saying that, well, the Nigerian government has had to toe this line because there is a sense of an admission of guilt. What do you think? Do you think that towing this line is an admission of guilt or complicity in some of the issues happening? Because we've seen several governments just stand up to the United States and say, we say no, this is not what's happening, and not use taxpayers' money to try and placate them or, bargain with them. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you very much, Vimbai, for helping to situate it correctly. What you are asking us to discuss now is the opportunity cost of deploying 750,000 US dollars, which is equivalent of about 1.125 billion naira every month, just for advocacy. Whereas in terms of development, if you are to look at the spectrum of the Sustainable Development Goals, you will discover there are a lot that we can do and achieve deploying that resource, particularly when you look at it from the angle of the internally displaced persons that do not have access to various amenities that will ensure that they have a standard livelihood and be properly catered for and allowed to live like human beings. When you look at the fact that this is more of a procurement thing, then you will discover that how come the disclosure instruments by the DCI group has indicated that the intermediary entity that handled this is one Asta Legal Services situated in Choice Plaza, Alkali Road in Kaduna. Is that entity an SPV under the Security Defense Management Architecture of the Nigerian state? If so, what exactly went through the Office of the National Security Advisor in terms of the procurement procedures according to the laws of the Nigerian state? That is not clear, and I'm hoping that the appropriate committees of the National Assembly will do their oversight. Again, when you look at it from the angle of access to information, there is nothing new that you... The most...
Dr. Fabemi?
Yes, please.
Fantastic. Please proceed.
Okay. When you are deploying resources for a particular purpose and objective, when you take a look at it and compare and contrast this same with what had been in public domain before now, you need to ask yourself, how does this affect your integrity status? As it is now, indirectly, this is casting aspersion on the officials of the Nigerian state that came out forcefully and were very vociferous in stating that there wasn't nothing that can be related to what the accusation had indicated. And I want to believe that a certain Daniel Buhala, amongst others, will apologize to Nigerians. A Daniel Buhala will be gracious to apologize to my very good friend and brother on the table over there, Rufai, that they got this wrong and they were only grandstanding. And when you are grandstanding, you need to understand there is a limit. Now that we are now at this point that they are deploying resources for lobbying, it is clear that we need to now ask them the question, how much are you spending for the rehabilitation of the IDPs? How much are you deploying for the reconstruction and development of the Christian worship centers and other entities and things like that that were destroyed? How much compensation are we going to be paying to the victims of some of these atrocious murder, assassination, and the like that have taken place? Are we now going to be paying compensation to the families of the deceased? Are we going to provide resources for the Christian community to rebuild the churches, for the Muslim community to rebuild the mosques that have been destroyed? Those are the realities that we need to begin to discuss. So when you contrast it with what you are trying to bring up about the South African situation, where the information that went out was not necessarily a true reflection of reality. What we are dealing with in Nigeria, we have more than... Yes, sir.
And that's why I said, rather than lobbying yesterday, why don't we fix our problems? And I'll give you an instance. On the 3rd of January 2026, the story emerged around the 4th and the 5th of January. Another attack happened in Kwasandaji markets. Several people were killed, about 37 to 42. But the interesting part is several others were abducted, numbers not known. But let me excite you even more. Some of the students from Papiri that were recently released were re-abducted. Till date, we have not seen any measure by the government to release them. But we are shelling out over $1 billion in lobbying. I want you to talk as regards priorities. Then secondly, why this company, who approved or made the approval for them as regards the money? How was the money transferred? Who were the receiving group in America? Who are the contact person? Can the lobbying group give us a profile of how they are executing? Or these things are beyond the realms of state secrets?
Thank you very much, Rufai. In terms of procurement, it is clear that we have questions to ask. Ordinarily, if it was a stricto sensu security intelligence deployment expenditure under Regulation 1, we may not be allowed to ask questions. But the moment this is transcending from security into international relations, foreign relations, diplomacy, diplomatic practice, we are allowed to ask questions. I am open that the National Assembly, particularly the Senate Committee on Intelligence and the House Corollary on Intelligence and then the Foreign Affairs Committees are going to be gracious enough and responsible enough to do their due diligence of oversight to ask the questions. The identity of the interface entity on the Nigerian side is already known. The identity of the DCI group is known, and based on the right of disclosure clauses available in the United States government, there are some instruments already in public domain, one of which has identified that the authorizing person on the Nigerian side is a certain Malam Nuhu Ribadu, who is the incumbent national security advisor, which automatically means that to do a thorough investigation and inquest is so simple and straightforward. I am hoping that the Office of the National Security Advisor will be more than gracious to disclose what needs to be disclosed so that we can put some of these things to rest. And mind you, this is one of the reasons why either to have always held the position that the Office of National Security Advisor should strictly stay to the statutory constitutional role of advising. If they do, we will not be in such a mess like we are having now. Because ordinarily, if you had deployed a multivariate analytic framework of PESTEL, for example, which is at the primary level, you would have discovered that there was no need to go employ the services of any lobby group. Again, and I want to stress it, if the priorities of the Nigerian state under the incumbent administration was in tandem with sustainable development goals, there wouldn't have been any reason for them to deploy this kind of humongous resource, which is already in the excess of 13 billion naira. When you put 13 billion naira in perspective, what it will give to you is very, very meaningful.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Kunle Fagbemi, for joining us on the morning show. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll be talking to Michael Anduaka, former Attorney General of the Federation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
In the beating heart of Owerri, business never sleeps. From sunrise to sundown, the wheels keep turning. And behind the scenes, vision meets action. Governor Hope Uzodinma's leadership has turned manifestos into reality, transformations that feels like a miracle. But progress needs peace, and in Imo, it's not left to chance. From land to sky to river deep, Guardians are watching, protecting dreams and opportunity. At Orashi's quiet shore, hydropower is rising, set to energize a growing economy. The change is visible. New roads emerge, industry hums, communities come alive. At the center, a digital revolution. 500,000 young minds trained each year to build the future. As Orashi rises, so does Imo and the hopes of a hard-working people. A new Imo is on the rise.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank digitally connected across Africa and global financial centers with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly whenever, wherever, however. A bank with smart financial solutions from a systemized blend of technology and human touch. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
I am the chef of life.
Huh? Mr. Chef, it's a two-finger crush.
Pass me the chicken and all purpose.
With Mr. Chef, a simple crush turns meals into culture and moments into memories.
is the true taste of home
and culture.
Share of life.
Africa's biggest gaming conference, Age 2026, is coming. The ultimate convergence of innovators, operators, regulators, investors, and creators, redefining gaming across the continent. Experience immersive exhibitions, thrilling competitions, and powerful insights on sports betting, lotteries, casinos, slots, and fintech, all in one place. This is where ideas ignite opportunities, and Africa steps boldly onto the global stage under the theme Africa's Gaming Market, Frontier to Prominence. Join us March 24th to 27th, 2026 at the AKO Convention Center, Lagos, Nigeria, to experience 4 unforgettable days of innovation, inspiration, and impact. Register now on www.ageafrique.org/register. Whether you're a regulator, operator, game developer, fintech, or an investor, this is where Africa's gaming revolution unfolds. Don't just watch the future, be part of it.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now, following the recent U.S. strikes on a bandit enclave in Sokoto and some northwest locations, which inflicted heavy losses on the bandits and forced them to flee southwards, there have been renewed attacks reported in the southwest and middle belt recently. In Ondo State, about 4 persons were reportedly killed when the newly relocated bandits sacked a security post. In Benue State, there has been an outcry by the people of Orokpo and environs, where the relocated bandits have killed several farmers, as villagers report seeing them arriving in their vicinity in droves. Well, joining us this morning is former Attorney General of the Federation, Michael Awonduaka, who has raised the alarm, calling for fresh U.S. airstrikes just a few days after Nigeria took delivery of military equipment to help it combat insecurity. Good morning and welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, sir.
Same to you, sir. Well, you have made a call that is causing a lot of controversy and drawing a lot of attention. You were quoted as saying that the U.S. airstrikes in Sokoto should in fact have started in Benue, and that you want President Trump, who has said, well, if Christian persecution in Nigeria continues, we have no option but to come back and order another airstrike in Nigeria. Well, I mean, as a Nigerian, as a man who has served this country at the highest level, don't you find it a bit odd that you'll be asking America to come to Nigeria and go from state to state to ensure peace and stability? You have recommended Benue today. Maybe tomorrow you will recommend Plateau. Where does that leave Nigeria's sovereignty? And is your call an expression of lack of faith in the ability of the Nigerian government to address the problems you identified?
Thank you very much, Barrister Abati. My call was in good faith. It did not in any way undermine the sovereignty of this country. If you get from what transpired, the Nigerian government said they acted, they gave the intelligence to the Americans. The Americans did not just come here. He said what was a corroboration. That is my understanding of what happened. And I think the Minister of Foreign Affairs was emphatic that the strike in Sokoto was a corroboration between the Americans and the Nigerian government. Nigeria gave them the intelligence. I said, if that is the case, as the bandits are moving away from Sokoto, concentrating within the Benue Valley, particularly around Benue State and their environs, causing mayhem, my understanding is that the ground forces will move on them within the Benue axis. But it looks like, from what you said, they have come in numbers. They are overturning villages. I will give you a particular local government, which is Ukom local government. Out of 13 wards, there's an occupation of 10 wards. You can, at the main market in Ukom, which is the Zakiman main market that produces yams for the country, they have settled less than 3 kilometers away from the main market. And that is alarming. And what I said is that there should be the same collaboration between the Nigerian government and US government to flush them out anywhere they are trying to concentrate in a group. It extends up to the attack that happened in Oyo. Anywhere there is collaboration, there's concentration, the bandits are concentrating. There's need for either the Nigerian Air Force to move in, or if they do not have the capacity, then the same collaboration that happened with the US government to be able to flush them out. So avoid them causing mayhem. My main understanding was that the collaboration was intended to finally put a stop to this. I want to give you an example. When this crisis started, during the President Yar'Adua's time, because I always refer where I was an active participant, what the government adopted was no mercy. There was zero tolerance on mercy on the bandits. Anywhere we heard there was concentration, our military used to go there to flush them out. This is a situation that politics should be completely set aside, because you are talking of a situation where 80% in Benue State, 80% are farmers, and the farmers have been displaced. There's a potential danger of hunger that's even more serious than the mayhem being caused by the bandits. And this is why I still think that collaborating with US or any other country to flush out the bandit does not in any way undermine the integrity of this country. Okay. I have faith, great hope in the security architecture of Mr. President Bola Tinubu now. Okay. But it goes beyond having faith in government. It goes to practical action. Okay. And this action entails that government of Nigeria must collaborate with sister countries, neighboring countries, and collaborate with US to put stop to this mayhem, because there's no purpose for this bandit. Okay. So, I mean... They are not saying... Okay. This is what they want.
I'll step in at this point because, you know, you're asking for a little bit more than, collaboration. You're asking for strikes. Now, we know that strikes come with two things. Airstrikes come with two things. Number one, casualties. Number two, the displacement of people. Now, I've also learned, and I would like for you to formally confirm, I've in the media, they are reporting that you are expressing your interest to contest for the governorship of Benue State in 2027. So once you confirm that, I want to know that as a chief security officer of a state, is the trade-off between killing, dropping bombs to cause terrorists to disperse, is it worth it? You prefer that to casualties and internally displaced individuals as a result of those? Or are there not other mechanisms that can be deployed, especially using our own domestic forces, to resolve issues? So, are you running for governor? And as governor, do you think that it's better to drop bombs and cause chaos?
When I'm discussing issues of security, I do not intend to bring my personal ambition in, because the issue of security transcends beyond the issue of personal ambition. It's a matter of reality. Those who are saying there's genocide in Nigeria, there's no way you say they don't love Nigeria. There are people who have alerted the country of the danger that if this is not addressed, it will cause a bigger problem for the country. And it has nothing to do with politics. Of course, if I have interest in governorship and I am the governor, I exactly know what to do. We can raise internal security apparatus that will collaborate effectively in intelligence gathering and collaborate with the military, the Nigerian military, and get this job done. This is not a situation, we have had it before during the government of Akume, during the government of Otom, during the government of Sosam. It was effectively checked. There was no question of the bandits occupying portions of lands in Benue or displacing farmers or preventing them from going to their ancestral homes. There was nothing like that. Suddenly, we try to play politics. We try to mix the issue with the ongoing political mayhem that's happening within APC in Benue, which I'm a member. This is something that is far beyond politics. This is something of the we of the government. You can't, Benue State government needs to rise up. Benue State government and Benue people have to get themselves prepared that they cannot be running away from their ancestral homes, but they should be reinforced to create an effective resistance. After all, the federal government appear to be backing them to ensure that they return back to their ancestral homes. But if that is not done, and the areas are being occupied, and now the bandits are relocating from Sokoto to those particular areas, creating a concentration that will become more effective for the bandits, then there's need for them to be bombed. It is easier for the internal security to sweep them out when they are not in concentration. But they bring a lot of weapons that are beyond the reach of ordinary local security militia, that is local vigilante groups. They come with weapons that are even more sophisticated with that of the military. Therefore, it is first to scatter them, then move in and displace them and allow for people to go back to their farms.
Two things. Number one, as a man from Benue that sees the killings, the genocide, the killings of Christians going on, how do you feel when you hear that the federal government is paying millions of dollars to help change that narrative with lobbying? That's number one. Number two, as a man from Benue, you said in the time of Suswan, things were a lot better. And the question is, what did they do then? Was it arming the people? And do you think it's best to arm the people to be able to mitigate so that at least they can fight back when this attack comes?
Thank you very much, Rufai. I did not say Suswam alone.
And the other person?
In fact, the resistance was more during Governor Otom than Suswam.
Okay, good.
But I'm saying that the government was on top of the situation. First, there was intelligence gathering. Government was alert. And anywhere there's influx of people that you do not understand, the government then will not allow them to settle. And we're able to provide effective information to the military and the police, and we were able to contain it. Also, we had a very strong vigilante group, especially during the Otom government. He had the anti-grazing law, and the law was being enforced. The idea was that if you come in with livestock, you must comply with the law. And there was an effective check on that. Rufai, when you come to issue of lobbying, I act on facts. I saw in the newspapers about issue of paying for lobbying. But I didn't want to comment about it because it is not a factual thing, it's an allegation. And I cannot follow speculation, no matter how strong, or suspicion, no matter how strong remains the suspicion.
The contract has been published. It's a factual thing.
I have not finished.
Okay.
I have not finished. I have not finished. I do not know the nature of lobbying. If the lobbying is effective to allow the boundaries to remain to cause mayhem, then that is unfortunate. But if the lobbying is for us to get more effective weapon and support from America to effectively contain this, using our armies and our air force, that is a good development. Of course, our air force need to upgrade their weapons. They need to have new technologies which they need to lobby to buy. Those are the general perception I would expect. But if the lobbying, let me answer your question, is to effectively say, no, nothing should be done. The bandits should continue to ravage the country. Then I don't believe any reasonable government will be looking in that direction.
So the lobbying was against the narrative of there's no Christian genocide that made our country a country of particular concern. That's when the lobby, and the contract has been published. In fact, it leaked. That's why it's a big story. There's a company called Astel Legal that is facilitating the contract. 2, I asked a question initially. I said, should we arm the people in solution to all of this? Should we set up more local militias and arm them effectively so that when they come to the communities, they can fight back?
The good news now is that even the federal government is complaining of setting up forest rangers. And I think the idea of the forest rangers is to confront these people within the forest that they have continued to be. Every state government, down to the southwest, they have set up security apparatus. The idea is to locally contain this menace that is ongoing. We had one during the autumn government, which it was forest rangers. The same thing federal government is contemplating now. And the idea was that the first group do not come in group, they come in few numbers. And if our local vigilante groups can contain with those, it will be difficult for a larger group to come. That has been the focus. And the focus has always been that I, as a person, and I'm talking as Mikey Underker, I do not differentiate between the life loss of any person living within Benue State or within Nigeria. The distinction of Christians happens to be that the occurrence is happening in areas that predominantly Christian are existing. Without being checked.
All right.
If you go to Sokoto, you will discover that the mayhem caused by the bandits is happening to Muslim more predominantly because the population is there. But what is important now for this country or for my state is that every life matters.
Absolutely. On that
every single life. If it is unfairly taken away by Bhakti, it should be the concern of government.
Yeah, absolutely.
Irrespective of whether the person is a Muslim or a Christian, we should be in a position to know why
your points are duly noted,
kill that person.
Your points are duly noted. We thank you so much for your time. That's Michael Awandoka. And just to clarify, the Foreign Agents Registration Act of 1938 has been registered and published in the United States, and the context of the contract that has been signed is specifically that the DCI group shall assist the Nigerian government through Asta Legal in communicating its actions to protect Nigerians' Christian communities and maintaining U.S. support in countering West African jihadist groups and other destabilizing elements as stated in the contract, for the sake of clarity. Now, we'll take a short break now, and when we return, Dr. Sheyi Oyeshola, an accomplished anesthetist and medical practitioner, will be joining us. Do stay with us.
Show your smile, do your future. Show your tutor, do your stream. Share your dream, do your passion. Share your fashion, do your pain. Show your game, do your friendship. Share your time, do your laughter. Make it true. With Glow YouTube bundles.
Do you 250 Naira for 5 hours, 600 Naira for 14 hours. Dial *312#.
With Glow YouTube bundles. Do you?
Glow Unlimited.
In this life, it's what you do behind that shows in front.
Now, give us the fire. Tell us more. It's Cosmo or nothing. Touch me or not. This is Cosmo.
That's why I roll with Cosmo deodorant. No sweat, no stains, no odor.
Now you know.
Cosmo Roll-On Whitening Deodorant.
All day freshness, 7 days a week from GVS Cosmetics.
Buying your Airpeace ticket just got easier with Fidelity Bank. When you book on flyairpeace.com, choose Fidelity payment options and complete your payment effortlessly. With Fidelity Bank, you can pay with transfer, fast, secure, and powered by Fidelity. Buy now, pay later, enjoy flexible payments, and travel stress-free. Book on hold. Lock in your travel plans and pay when you're ready. Whichever you choose, every transaction is quick, seamless, and protected. No stress, no hassle. Just smooth payments every time. Because with Fidelity Bank, flying Airpeace isn't just about getting there, it's about getting there with ease. Fly Airpeace. Pay the Fidelity way. Simple, safe, convenient. Visit flyairpeace.com to get started.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Every winter, the world's most influential people come to Davos to negotiate the future face to face. Money, energy, war, AI, trade, innovation, and all else. Africa will be there as well as Nigeria. The decisions made here will shape what happens to everyone else. As always, Arise has a front row seat, not to admire power, but to interrogate and shape the future. Join me, Rhoda Odiri, Rolake Akinkube Filani, and Anizio Sakwe. Trust us to be your guide to the 2026 World Economic Forum. Watching closer, listening harder, and translating the moment into what it means for your life. Because the decisions made here don't stay here. They travel into markets, into borders, into prices, into policies. Stay with Arise News in Davos 2026. We're alive, relentless, uncompromising. If it shifts the world, you'll see it first. On the world's standout global news channel, Arise News.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now, the recent death of best-selling author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's 21-month-old son has brought healthcare standards in Nigeria, Africa's most populous country, under fresh scrutiny, prompting calls for reform. The family of the Nigerian author has accused the hospital of gross medical negligence. Adichie's sister-in-law, Dr. Anthea Esegenwandu, a physician and professor with decades of experience, said she had been told that the young man had been administered an overdose of propofol to sedate him to conduct MRI tests. She argued that the anesthesiologist had been, and I quote, criminally negligent and had not followed proper medical protocol. Of course, we all know that all of these allegations still stand to be substantiated as we await official medical reports that can give us an autopsy report for us to know the true cause of death. Well, as we continue to look at how we can improve our healthcare in Nigeria, reduce anxiety often faced by people going for surgery and possibly intensive care, we're now being joined by Dr. Seyi Oyeshola, an accomplished anesthetist and medical practitioner with over 25 years on the cutting edge of practicing medicine. Good morning, doctor, and welcome to the program today.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here.
Well, Doctor, on this, we have had a public health expert,
Yes.
Professor Alero Roberts.
Correct.
We have had a lawyer who has handled many cases in the area of medical negligence, Dr. Lisa Bakuba, SAN. And then on this program, you are the third person. And it's right down your alley. The introduction says you are an anesthetist.
That is correct.
And it's one of your colleagues that is being said to have given an overdose of propofol. Well, but the issue is about negligence. It's about protocol. Now, what would have been the standard protocol for administering anesthesia on a patient that is just about 21 months old? And where do you think something may have gone wrong?
Good. Thank you. And thank you very much for that question. Maybe we should just start from the beginning. From my perspective, it is not fair on the parents, the deceased, or for that matter, the professionals involved, for any of us here to start to comment on the standards that should exist or should have existed on this particular day. I would also like to state that prior to agreeing to come here, the agreement was that we would not be discussing the specifics of this case. I am happy to discuss anesthesia and critical care, in fact, because those are my specialties. I'm happy to discuss those topics generally. But I would not like to comment.
The agreement with.
We are the agreement.
Nobody tells us what to ask and what not to ask.
Do you see what I mean when I first arrived and I made that comment that you said? Because usually there is a brief, but my side of the brief was that I would not engage in conversation or discussion about the details specific to this case, and the reasons are obvious. It is unfair. It discourages public participation in an honest way. It often puts the whole investigation at risk if people like myself, who know what should obtain, begin to discuss that specific case without being there. If I was there, I wouldn't even be on this program. As you can imagine, it would be remiss. I would be remiss if I chose to come and speak about it. But I'm very happy to talk about anesthesia and critical care. I'm very happy to create a level of awareness, which I think is missing. A great deal of that is missing where the public, even among our colleagues, what is anesthesia? What do these people actually do? If you ask the general person who knows a little bit about it, they'll tell you, oh, yes, of course, they put people to sleep, which is true. But the truth of the matter is that if it was just sleep, then when the surgeon comes with his knife, you wake up. So there's an element of pain relief that is involved. In order for you not to move and the accuracy of surgery can take place safely, it is also important that you are stopped from having reflex movements. So that sort of summarizes what anesthesia is all about. Now, with modern medicine, and this brings me to what you are probably interested in hearing, with modern medicine, it is absolutely essential to recall that a lot of the successes that medicine has to be proud of these days, a lot of the positive outcomes that people record from going abroad, and this is a very important point I don't want anybody to miss, is because anesthesia and critical care have served as a fantastic basket to rescue people who are sick. Now, the sicker you are, the more likely you are to go to intensive care. But the truth of the matter is there are even some routine operations, for example, open heart surgery, which I've been fortunate to be very much a part of initiating, starting, and maintaining in this country from the anesthetic point of view. You cannot do that you can't even take such a patient to theater without having a critical care unit ready and waiting. And when I say a critical care unit, I'm not talking about the building. I'm not talking about the equipment. I'm talking about the staffing. That we're not talking about somebody who read it in a book, somebody who has done several. That person is now qualified to support the surgery, or for that matter. And just one more point. Anesthesia and critical care covers every single specialty in medicine. From psychiatry to obs and gynae, to pediatrics, to surgery, even just plain medicine, physique, as we call it. It covers all of them, because it's when those people have not been able to do the outpatients, inpatient, then they call the intensivist. They call the anesthetist. This one is getting bad. And I'm sure Professor Roberts has explained some of that too.
In fact, I'd like for you to sort of expand on a few things she said. You know, specifically, she said that, well, anesthesia on its own, of course, when administered in the right circumstances with the right level of monitoring and all protocols observed, is safe.
Yes.
But she also said that there's no anesthetist who hasn't lost a patient before.
This is true.
So can you expand on that? Because we want to understand, at what point does it become a risk? At what point should I be scared? Because the general consensus is that, anything that makes me pass out, please, give me general anesthesia. I don't want to be knocked out.
That's the same thing. General anesthesia means you'll be knocked out.
No,
That's what it means.
give me local anesthetic.
Give me local or regional.
Give me local, yes.
So that
I don't want
only
to be
a part of my body is deadened.
Yes.
I don't want to lose consciousness.
Yes.
You're absolutely
right. Most
right.
of us ask for, yes.
So where does one start? Now, every medical procedure, whether it be anesthesia or somebody removing your toenail or just a circumcision, every medical procedure is risky. And that is why before you engage a patient, or for that matter, anybody in medical interventions, your duty is to obtain informed consent. So when does it become risky? As soon as you submit yourself to surgery. Let's say you are not particularly, it's elective. This is something that can be left till next week. Then it's straightforward. I have to sit down with you, tell you in clear terms what I'm going to do. I have to tell you the consequences of not doing anything. And then I have to tell you at least the common complications, which may include death. So, does that answer your question, or do I need to?
No, I want to know how when I walk into a Nigerian healthcare facility, how high is the risk of my getting the extreme, which is death, from being administered under anesthesia?
Anesthetic. Okay. So there's always risk to every procedure, including anesthesia. All right? Now, let me illustrate this point, because I chose to go into anesthesia and critical care because I accepted the risk, but I also know that the risk have been significantly mitigated by the modern developments.
In Nigeria.
In Nigeria and all over the world. For example, when I was still training and a junior doctor, the malpractice insurance premium, which is a measure of risk, the malpractice insurance premium, not here, in the US, in the UK, the premium anesthetists used to pay was one of the highest, showing that this is a risky specialty. By the time I qualified and I started to learn anesthesia and critical care, we discovered that we now have the lowest insurance premium. In other words, the risk has become so low that we know for a fact that if you go into surgery now, you are more likely to die crossing the road than having an anesthetic. Now let's take that even a little bit further. Why? Why has the risk been reduced so greatly? Why is anesthesia safe? Why would a surgeon subject their patient to anesthesia, knowing jolly well that the definitive treatment has to do with a scalpel and some sewing? It's because it is relatively safe. And the reason is this: monitoring. It's been mentioned before. There are 5 basic monitors that you must use on every patient. Their heart rate, their ECG, their pulse oximetry, their blood pressure, and something else we call echocardiogram, capnography.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's why it is safe.
Monitoring.
Much safer than it used to be.
Okay. As a doctor that administers anesthesia,
yes,
who do you report to? Who regulates you?
We have our own body. For instance, in Nigeria,
what's it called?
Is the Nigeria Society of Anesthetists.
Who regulates the Nigeria Society of Anesthetists?
The same society or the same body that regulates all doctors. The Medical and Defense, Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, MDCN.
So the Nigerian Society of Anesthetists, they set guidelines,
yes,
and regulations of how anesthetics will practice.
Yes.
And they also have guidelines
yes.
for monitoring.
And they're also responsible for training.
Yes. So they're also responsible for training, and they have guidelines for monitoring on how the anesthetic. Do you, as an anesthetist, file a log of the guidelines deployed for every case file?
Okay, and that's an excellent question. It's a legal requirement.
So you have a log.
It is a legal requirement. It's called an anesthesia record chart that starts before the anesthesia is actually administered. You actually have to go and do a preoperative evaluation. You need to establish the age, the sex, all the usual demographics. Now, it doesn't matter what the patient is coming for. What if the patient is diabetic? What if the patient is hypertensive, epileptic, asthmatic? People have all those conditions and they are coming for surgery or they are coming to be treated for something else. So as part of our training, and all anesthetists around the world have the same training.
So for every procedure,
every single procedure is documented.
Will have to file that chart. So after every procedure, a patient can ask the anesthetist for that chart, right?
The patient can. It is their property, actually.
Their property.
Yes,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for, but certainly an enlightening conversation. And well, I'm not sure if it's going to tamper down anybody's anxiety or about going under the knife or, being knocked unconscious. But it's a work in progress, certainly.
It's a work in progress.
Thank you. It's time for a short break now. When we return, Aaron Akerijola will be here with Global Sports Update. Do stay with us.
From the savannah to the shore, we stand as one. Under one flag, till the rising sun. Duty in our hearts, courage in our name. We got the land through fire and rain. Defenders of the homeland, standing strong and free for the peace of tomorrow, for you and me. With honor and faith, we answer the call. Nigeria, shield. We will not fall.
As far as your eyes can see, you can own it. built on integrity, surrounded by nature, a place where you feel alive. With golf course, amusement park, artificial lake, sports centers, residential and commercial spaces. Be among the first to invest for greater returns and a new lifestyle. Utu exclusive. Live, play, relax. Invest today.
In the beating heart of Owerri, business never sleeps. From sunrise to sundown, the wheels keep turning. And behind the scenes, vision meets action. Governor Hope Uzodimma's leadership has turned manifestos into reality, transformations that feels like a miracle. But progress needs peace, and in Imo, it's not left to chance. From land to sky to river deep, Guardians are watching, protecting dreams and opportunity. At Orashi's quiet shore, hydropower is rising, set to energize a growing economy. The change is visible. New roads emerge, industry hums, communities come alive. At the center, a digital revolution. 500,000 young minds trained each year to build the future. As Orashi rises, so does Imo and the hopes of a hard-working people. A new Imo is on the rise.
In most parts of the world, girl child are not recognized in a family. I hope all this problem holding down a girl child did not hold me down.
The idea behind the project is to identify schools that we think the parents are not economically empowered to sponsor their children to schools.
In demonstration of our commitment to reducing that number, we've come here today to provide some of the essentials that we believe would help the children in school. We worked with different schools in 5 states across the country, and we reached out to 15,000 children.
I want to be a food scientist, and Polaris Bank is helping me realize this dream. I'm perfectly excited.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Still the Arise News Channel. Sports, Aaron. Oh my goodness, Nigeria. It is well. It is well. Aaron, take it away.
All right, a very good morning to you, Rufai, and good morning to you, Vimbai. It was a very sad night into the morning, literally, because the game, after regulation time, they could not be separated. They actually went into penalties. And ultimately, after 120 minutes, had been paid, the lottery of penalty were called upon, and the Super Eagles failed to deliver. But I must state this, that the remarkable run, because the Super Eagles players fluffing from 12 yards, that was how he actually played out for them in that particular World Cup playoff against DR Congo. And this time around, when it got thick, when it got very, very hard, the Super Eagles needed to step up once again, and they failed to rise up and be counted. And as we speak right now, they will have to play in the losers final, and people are not entirely happy because the Super Eagles, without a doubt, based on the pedigree and based on display, they are the best team in this particular tournament. But it's not about free-flowing football. It's about getting the results. And probably these players do not understand that when push comes to shove, you need to find a way to win. That meaning winning mentality when the road gets tough is now looking very, very far from the Super Eagles. And I'm sure the Nigeria Football Federation will be looking deep into this, because you look at it very, very close. In a space of 3 major qualifiers and tournaments, putting into context the Africa Cup of Nations in 2023, which was played in 2024, that the Super Eagles got to the finals of the Africa Cup of Nations only to be pipped by the host Ivory Coast, coming from behind in that particular final in Ivory Coast to win that one 2-1. And they had an opportunity
when being given a lifeline after bungling the qualifier series. And in the playoffs, they could not just get past the finish line. And this is another blemish on their record again, because it's not about how you express yourself when things are going right. When your back is against the wall, how you react and how you bounce back is very, very key. And I must say, because as it stands right now, the Super Eagles of Nigeria will be playing the Pharaohs of Egypt in the losers final on Saturday in Casablanca, while the Teranga Lions of Senegal will be going against the Atlas Lions of Morocco in a winner-takes-it-all and an opportunity to be crowned champions. For the Moroccans, it's over 50 years since they became champions. It's over 50 years since they last won this particular trophy, and they'll be hoping to dial back the hands of time to host and win. And for all the Teranga Lions, they have been pushing. And once again, let's see if they can actually do it like they did back in 2021. I must say that it's been quite the happening. Now, let's quickly talk about the referee fight. All right, the man's name, Daniel Lai. Everyone seemed to have been questioning what he did on the day and how he officiated that particular match. Because when you look at the statistics, the Moroccans had 22 fouls, or they committed 22 fouls, and were not given a single yellow card. And people are asking, how is that even possible? How is that? They are not that clinical. They are not that surgical in their tackles to be able to evade the referee's books and the referee's cards time and time again. But as it stands right now, all that are just mere talks and banter. The reality is that the Super Eagles cannot win this Africa Cup of Nations, and they will have to settle for a bronze if they can beat the Pharaohs of Egypt on Saturday in Casablanca.
Aaron, but let us not blame Samuel and Bruno too much. In football, these things happen. Even Eric Schell himself, the coach, admits that, well, we didn't play at the same technical level as in the other matches. So these things happen. Let's see if we'll be lucky to bring home the bronze. And it's good news that chairman of Boa Group, Samadradu, says he will still make that $500,000 available to the Super Eagles. Win some, lose some. That's life. Thank you. It's time now for a short break. When we return, Anyeze Osakwe will be here with details on what's trending. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. I'm here with the woman that makes all the things happen in Fidelity Bank, the MD of Fidelity Bank.
FNTCC was conceptualized in 2022, and the whole idea was to create a platform where our exporters lead with the global community are able to showcase their products. What we do in the banking industry is to always try to meet the needs of our customers, and we could see that the exporters were struggling with. They didn't have a global stage on which to showcase their goods. We did so much initially in terms of capacity building. After that, the products were made, were put in proper quality, packaging and all of that. So the next step naturally is to take it to the global stage, especially if you focus on making world-class products.
Like they say, build it and they will come.
Yes, they will, don't worry about it. Build it and they will come.
All right, ma'am.
We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Every winter, the world's most influential people come to Davos to negotiate the future face to face. Money, energy, war, AI, trade, innovation, and all else. Africa will be there as well as Nigeria. The decisions made here will shape what happens to everyone else. As always, Arise has a front row seat, not to admire power, but to interrogate and shape the future. Join me, Rhoda Odiri, Rolake Akinkube Filani, and Anyeze Osakwe. Trust us to be your guide to the 2026 World Economic Forum. watching closer, listening harder, and translating the moment into what it means for your life. Because the decisions made here don't stay here. They travel into markets, into borders, into prices, into policies. Stay with Arise News in Davos 2026. We're alive, relentless, uncompromising. If it shifts the world, you'll see it first. On the world's standout global news channel, Arise News.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now with stories trending around the world is Anieze Osakwe.
Yes.
Good morning, Annie.
Good morning. Dr. Abati, how are you doing?
Good.
Good. Been by?
Good morning, Annie and
Good
Ping.
morning.
Good to
Yes,
see
you
you in a
know,
nice bright
I don't wear it
color.
often. Something different. Why not? Rufai, good morning.
Annie Davos.
Annie Davos, yes. It's from Ogidi to Davos.
So we'll get it to Davos.
That's where we're headed.
Annie Davos.
Yes, and good morning to everyone out there. Thank you all for starting your day with us. We begin what's trending with a flood of reactions on social media to new reports that 20 people are now in captivity after the notorious terrorist Bello Turji attacked the Gajit community in the Sabon Birni local government area of Sokoto State. Now, here's what we know. The kidnapping took place on Tuesday, with both men and women abducted, and 2 people were injured. It comes as Turji, as you see on your screen, has indicated his plans to fully control parts of eastern Sokoto State, which has led to the mass displacement of residents and families, as seen in this video you see, that has been trending all week. I'll take some quick reactions to people. One person says, nah, what is all this? And why do we even have executives? How can a bandit be this loud and bold, yet nothing has been done? The more you look at the ongoing scenes in Nigeria, the more you question your sanity. Joseph says, is there no police in northern Nigeria? Why are these terrorists moving from town to town without being challenged? But police mount checkpoints in southern Nigeria to extort motorists. Meanwhile, disturbing new pictures are circulating on social media that show the release of 17 people of different ages, all abducted from the Evangelical Church Winning All in Ayetoro Kiri of Kogi State. Now, according to the National Public Secretary of the Communities Development Association, 3 people were released on Monday, with an additional 14 released on Tuesday. And as you can see in these new pictures, it's mostly elderly people, young kids who had been in captivity since the 14th of December, when 30 of them were kidnapped during a service. Now, according to the association, this was very much a community effort that led to bringing these people back safely, saying that they worked with families of the people who were abducted, community leaders. And a lot of the people are saying, you know, why is there such a vacuum when it comes to security and police presence in these states? Where is everyone? Rufai, I'll start with you.
And that's exactly what we're saying. I would rather we are bringing people back home, releasing people, showing that the government cares, rather than spend that money, billions on lobbying. Okay, look at it now. Part of the terms and conditions, please, Vimba, read in that lobbying contract for us, please. I just want you to
Go
read
ahead. Once I've got it up
to be able to talk about the things we are doing to safeguard the Christian communities in it. Does this story show that we are safeguarding the Christian community? People, Christians, were abducted in a church since 14th of December. They had to do community effort to bring them back. No government. And it's not only them. These ones, they will have paid some ransom. So with a story like this, very good. Through as in communicating his action to protect Nigerian Christian communities, maintaining U.S. support in countering jihadist group and other disabilities,
Does this communicate action that you are protecting Christian communities where it is the Christian communities that had to look for a way to be able to get their people out? See the way they were dehumanized. Let me talk about a case. Reverend Archie was killed just because of his faith. We've been making an agenda for his wife that has been in captivity since Reverend Archie was killed weeks ago. I've been advocating for Reverend Archie's killing when I was on holidays in England. I came back to this country on the 3rd of December. So before then, Reverend Archie's wife had been in captivity. I don't know if they have released Reverend Archie's wife, only if they will release her tomorrow. No government, no government agency. The last time it was the family that was running around. Reverend Archie's body was only released after the family had gone to put some money forward to the criminals. Reverend Archie was picked up in his home. So does this, rather than doing all of this, why don't we capitalize or focus on how we can solve the problem? I was reading in African reports as regards this lobbying thing that one lawyer was paid $5,000 just to write a letter to some American, what is it called, senators or something. $5,000 to write a letter.
Well, a lawyer deserves his wages.
I'm not saying they don't deserve their wage, Dr. But I'm not arguing that the lawyer doesn't deserve their wages. I'm just stating empirical facts. But see the sad reality. So I think it's time for us to look within. As we speak today, I don't even know, maybe if the government, let's even set up a website, a glossary of all of those and index that have been kidnapped, so that we even know the cases that are currently on, the cases that we are pursuing, because I know it can even be overwhelming that they even lost track of most of these cases. The cases that have been opened up, what's the coordinated effort? See this woman, see what she has been through. Her face tells the story of Nigeria. When we say Nigeria happened now, the data boys and the those under PRU establishment, they will come and tell you that you are stupid, you are mad, that you hate Nigeria. The emergency lovers of Nigeria will come.
Yeah.
So maybe if we can even set up the website, have a glossary, a reporting website that we can all harmonize, so that we know the cases that we're even tracking. And please, for what it's worth, ensure that Reverend Archie's wife gets out there.
Absolutely, solutions.
Okay, the whole issue is about the worsening state of insecurity in Nigeria and the impunity of non-state actors. Bello Tuji Kachala, those are his full names, known for short as Bello Tuji, is considered the most notorious, terrorist bandit in the northwestern part of Nigeria. Now, before this latest attack in that local government in Sokoto, it was reported to have given the people in that area 24 hours notice to leave their homes. And I think there were videos of persons actually running away. And then this latest attack, he taking control of the place, injuring people, abducting more than 20 residents in that community in Sokoto East. Now, this Bello Tuji first came to fame, I think, in 2022, when in one particular incident, he was reported to have killed over 200 persons, he and his gang. Now, do you know the irony? The irony is that at a point, this same Bello Tuji, whether he was granted interview or whatever, was reported to have been given healers vehicles by a sitting governor in Nigeria. So this romance between authority figures and bandits and terrorists who should be arrested and brought to book is part of the problem. Now, I think in that same northwestern axis of Nigeria, whether it was Bello Tuji or somebody, there was an arrangement to even give him a chieftaincy title by a community. So you see, the impunity of non-state actors emboldens them, and the connivance of the state or state figures encourages these non-state actors to continue in this regard. It's not as if the authorities do not know who he is. It's not as if they don't know where he operates. So it speaks beyond insecurity to the failure of the state to apprehend these criminal elements.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing with the Ekwa Church in Kogi State, right? In a community in Kogi State. Now, over 30 persons were abducted on December 14. Now, on January 1, We were told that 4 persons were released. By January 13, 4 persons were released because 3 were reported to have died.
Mhm.
They gave them 3 corpses, released 4. On January 13, they released 14 more persons.
Mhm.
Now, on January 14, they released another set of 6.
Mhm.
Now they've released total
Yeah.
24 persons. We're told that 17 persons are still in custody. And all of this as a result of the effort of the Community Development Association and the families.
Mhm.
You ask yourself again, where are state agents?
That's the question.
Where are the people who have a constitutional obligation
Yeah.
to protect Nigerians? And that's why it looks helpless, whether the victims are, Christians or they are Muslims.
Right.
We're under siege, but the only good story there is that the Minister of Defense now says they are setting up new training depots,
Mhm.
one in Ebonyi State and some elsewhere to scale up, the Nigerian government living up to its responsibility.
Mhm.
We will comment on it when we see the results.
Yeah.
And we will say, well, the state authorities have woken up and they are no longer jollofing and pepper souping with bandits and terrorists.
Yes, such key points. Residents should not have to fend for themselves. But from insecurity, let's now head to our next story, sports. With the country reacting with a sense of pride, albeit sadness, at the Super Eagles' hard-fought but ultimately losing match yesterday against Morocco. Now, the federal government commending the team for their performance throughout AFCON, assuring each and every player, Nigeria is proud of you. And that was the sentiment largely echoed online. I'll take some quick reactions. One person said, "The boys gave their best effort. Today just wasn't our day. Penalty shootouts rely heavily on luck rather than skill. What I enjoy most is how Super Eagles bring the country together. When you don't come out on top, you learn it's all part of life." Daniel said, "The Super Eagles need to work on their performance as a team. Individually, our players are good, but not as a squad. Better preparation next time." And then finally, Peter Obi said, "Thank you for a beautiful 120 minutes of incredible play. You showed your strength, prowess against all odds. The journey is not over. You've made the nation proud. Keep your heads high. The eagle never stops soaring. There's another stage. Let's go get that medal. You have done well." So games like this are always so stressful to watch, Vimbai. And while it's sad that we didn't win, it feels like the national sentiment around this game has been somewhat supportive. It's sad, it hurts, but is there any sense of reprieve here? Any lessons learned?
Well, there are lessons to be learned. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay up for the whole match. I did my best, but I fell asleep at some point. But the key takeaways
Nigeria is playing, you fell asleep.
It was late.
And your Nigeria wife?
It was late.
My dear, I'm a Nigeria wife with 2 little kids who wakes up at 4 a.m. to come to work every day. So, but what struck me was that those opening minutes, Morocco played a very intense and aggressive game. They dominated. They were making shots at goal immediately from the time the whistle blew. But the fact that even given that pressure, given the fact that when you looked at the stadium, it was a wave of red. And if you've been to a football match live, you know how intense that is when you can't see your people. And, it's just the opponent, of course, in this instance, the host country, and they're singing and they're chanting and they're, all those psychological elements, they play a part. I mean, all of the majority of the Super Eagles players, they've traveled vastly. They're well exposed. They're players who have played in various different parts of the world extensively. But I don't think that you can ever get used to that environment and that intimidation from your opponent when you're playing on home ground. Nevertheless, they took it to the very end. And I love the person who made the contribution that penalties are almost a game of chance, and that just goes to show that they did their best. They put their best foot forward. Sportsmanship says somebody must win and somebody must lose. And if only we can learn that culture, if only psychologically even our politicians, can get to a point where they can accept that you don't have to win by force by any means necessary every time. You can lose. You can actually just lose gracefully. So there's takeaways in everyday life. I think that we can learn from sport, which is why we always try to encourage exposing children to sport at an early age. Having said that, it's fantastic to see. We've already spoken about Samad Rabiu and the fact that they'll still get their $500,000. They still have a chance at the third place against Egypt, which, is not a walkover either. But it was a good outing, and not everything has to be black or white. We can lose gracefully as well.
Yes, that's a very good point. So many lessons to learn from the world of sports.
The referee was biased. I just had to get that out of my mind.
Okay.
The referee was very biased. I don't know. Ghana follow us this year.
Even after we said that their jollof is better, just for yesterday.
Ghana follow us this year. Very biased guy. See the card he gave. What's the guy? Bassi to miss the next match. Somebody was pulling Bassi instead of you to blow for Bassi. Very biased. All the rough tackle Morocco did. Didn't really give them yellow card. Then secondly, the Moroccans were biased. We couldn't get tickets. They hoarded the tickets. Moroccans were full. They were everywhere in the stadium, but Nigerians even couldn't get it. I know, yes, we couldn't have trumped them, but they ordered tickets. Then the noise, goodness me, over 100 decibels when Nigeria want to play kick. What is it? Sorry, good boys, Jerry. It's enough. It is well, guys. You did well.
Nigerians like to give excuses.
We would. The referee was biased. The referee was Ojoro
against 11.
Ojoro Wambe.
Clearly, the loss still stings. The loss still stings. But we learn what we can from that game. Now to Anambra State, where a new video has people online talking about how a knight of the Catholic Church, James Louis Okoye, publicly said that he would renounce his Christianity during the dedication of the new Our Lady of Assumption Cathedral at Nnewi on Wednesday. Now, in the video, Okoye calls out the church for not acknowledging the former Anambra South Senator Ifeanyi Uba, who passed away in July of 2024. And he is said to have been instrumental in the cathedral's groundbreaking and construction. Let's take a look.
My last day as a Christian. My last day as Christian is today. If I knew
Now, however, later on Wednesday, another video emerged from the cathedral service that showed the moment the cathedral's bishop, Dr. Jonas Benson Okoye, did, albeit briefly, recognize the late senator during the ceremony. Let's quickly watch that as well.
Some don't know why I asked him to preside at this mass. My predecessor started this cathedral, I continued. And a good number of the faithful, including the late Senator Oba, also contributed. But because I wanted a connection between me and my predecessor, he ordained my predecessor a priest, he confirmed me in faith, and I chose the same day of his episcopal consecration for my own episcopal consecration.
Now, the cathedral was dedicated by His Eminence Francis Cardinal Arinze, with Anambra State Governor Charles Chukwuma Soludo in attendance, as well as the former presidential candidate Peter Obi. But these two videos have sparked a lot of reactions online. Some people say that the man's reaction was too dramatic, while others say that the late senator's recognition wasn't enough. Even though we heard it, it was brief, Dr. Abati.
Well, I agree with those who say that the man's reaction was dramatic. What is even ironic here is that the gentleman, whose name is James Louis, is a knight of the church. You expect that certain persons who have knighthood, that a certain level of conduct, a certain level of leadership, responsibility, decorum is expected from them. And this gentleman just went overboard. Now, Ifeanyi Uba of blessed memory, God rest his soul, Yes, certainly, as the bishop acknowledged, was one of the persons who contributed to the building of that cathedral, which is part of the obligation of many, devout Christians. You try to support the church, you try to make your own contribution. But the problem with Sir James is that he thinks that the recognition was not enough. Mm-hmm. Now, when you do things in the house of God, I thought the received opinion is that God sees you. He already sees your heart, and your contribution is between you and your God. Mm-hmm. But here, it's not even Senator Ifeanyi Uba, making a case. He represented Anambra South Senatorial District. It's after his death. This gentleman, on his behalf, is expressing a sense of entitlement. And many Christians will raise the question whether that's the Christian way. Mm-hmm. There are many Nigerians, when they donate something to the church, they will go and write their name on even ordinary plastic chairs, donated by the family of XYZ, in a very conspicuous manner. If it is a wristwatch, you will not almost see the letter. You may say, oh, Mr. Ikenna, donated this to this church. So people have this sense of entitlement, yes, making it seem as if church has now become a place for showing off. And I think it's very unfortunate. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at the circumstances, this night, he probably stepped out when the bishop was speaking and mentioned Senator Uba. He probably was busy on his phone. A lot of people go to church, they spend half of the time, communicating with their phones and not listening to the preacher. Mm-hmm. So all of this is just unfortunate. But I hope he will change his mind and say, he should go. He's not coming back to church just because. He should go. I don't know his relationship with Senator Uba, just that Senator Uba was not, in his estimation, properly recognized. If he's a true Christian, he will show up again in church. No, he should go. This week. We don't need people like this. And since he's a Catholic, he should go and ask for forgiveness.
No, he should go and do confession. But we don't need people like this in Christian.
The Lord leaves the night.
No. If he does this confession, forgiveness is guaranteed. Our Lord is a forgiving God. And he sees the heart of everyone.
No, I'm sorry. If this matter, a matter which I call as fickle as this, can make you renounce your faith, then I don't think you're fit to hold that faith. And I think it's a very serious matter for him. If a matter as fickle as this can make you denounce your faith, I don't think you're fit to hold that faith.
Yes.
Well, the church, even those who sin, who have sinned, in the house of the Lord, when they come back as prodigal sons, they will be forgiven. Mm-hmm. So let him go and seek penance.
Yes, and still in Anambra State, hopefully we have time for this one. The state's public relations officer of police, Tochukwu Ikenga, confirmed the arrest of a masquerade during a burial ceremony after it violently attacked people at the event. Now, the incident happened on Monday, and in videos circulating that we brought you yesterday, it clearly shows the exact moment that the masquerade lunged at a performer, and we have this video on stage and started attacking people. People had to hold back this masquerade. According to the police, it pushed motorcyclists as well as an elderly man who hit his head on a car. And this particular masquerade is said to only appear after 6 p.m. because it's known for its destructive behavior. But, this has resurfaced a lot of conversations about the balance between cultural traditions and people's safety. And as we see more masquerade arrests and bans, what it means for the future of the tradition. But next, let's take our milestone report. With the federal government and the country at large paying tribute to the nation's military all week, culminating today, January 15, on Armed Forces Remembrance Day. So for the last few days, the federal government has been consistent in recognizing and honoring every military man and woman for defending the country's unity, its peace, and territory, day in, day out. Armed Forces Remembrance Day is observed every year in Nigeria on the 15th of January to honor the individuals in the military who died during the Civil War, who maintained the nation's internal security, as well as peacekeeping missions abroad. Now, the celebrations taking place all week with a program that balanced solemn, intentional remembrance with joy and national pride, showcased the heroism and humanity of Nigeria's armed forces, from events at the National Defense College to a gala at the Presidential Villa and more. Each event was representative of the sacrifices of current, former, and fallen soldiers, while emphasizing the government's commitment to our nation's troops and their families. So there have been calls to make today a national public holiday, to give the public a day to recognize the military, especially in times like this, as the country deals with insecurity and terrorism as well. And we don't have too much time to discuss it, but, you know, national...
Very quickly, we already have too many holidays. I know the idea of having a public holiday on Armed Forces Remembrance Day is to involve the community so that it doesn't look like a strictly military affair. After all, they have Remembrance Day, in Remembrance Sunday in the UK, Veterans Day in Ghana, Veterans Day also in the United States. But I think it is more important to pay attention to the welfare of the families of these fallen heroes. Many of their family members have not received their entitlements. Many of them have no accommodation. The ones that are even serving, they are not being well taken care of. I think the welfare of both the living and the fallen heroes of the Nigerian military is more important to me, rather than having a holiday where, you know, the basic issues will not be addressed. People will just spend the day sleeping or drinking or just playing about. The fundamental issues should be the focus.
And education. Education. If anything, this is a day to be playing maybe documentaries or, you know, to have stage plays or something. Because there's an entire generation that doesn't appreciate or doesn't even have just basic fundamental knowledge of the significance of what we're commemorating today.
So I think it's long overdue. We need to have like an harmonized collection pot where we can target funds for our veterans, where it could be a series of events, it could be a series of discounts in partnership with companies, it could be a series of charitable donation by companies and all of that. And we have an harmonized funds. And this money can be deployed to the use of veterans, because we don't really do a lot in terms of veteran service. You know, we don't really do a lot in terms of mental health awareness for veterans and things like that. So there's so much. I think this is the time to institute that, really.
So much.
And as for that masquerade, Agaba, or what do they call it? The lesson is how to strike a balance between culture and public safety. It's not enough to say Agaba is known for destructive behavior. Since he's a masquerade, an ancestor, he's in detention now. They should not give him water or food, because ancestors, do they drink water in the other world? Anyway, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. He will remove the mask and he will have his day in court.
Exactly. Thank you all for your great analysis today. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much indeed. And it's a wrap on today's edition of The Morning Show. Rotus Odiri is up next with Global Business Report, and he will be speaking to Oyinkansola Aregbesola, ACA, Investment Associate, AAG Capital. Stay with us. This is still the Arise News Channel, your global standout news channel.